Hi, welcome. This is Angela of Ascender World, bringing you element 5 of the Course in Forgiveness as part of the Adventures in Wonderland program. So today's element on forgiveness, we're talking about war, military, and violence, which is a very light subject, as all of these are. But this one's particularly light, wouldn't you say? But what we want to talk about around this has to do with there's a lot of underlying. So we've had a lot of there's a lot of propaganda around, beliefs around military and stuff like that. And I'm not doing this with any judgment. This is just there's been a lot of persuasiveness on, the military is great, war is for a purpose, there's always got to be the battle of good versus evil, that kind of stuff. Here's the challenge though. When we say the battle of good versus evil, we are coming from the ego, because the ego always judges whether something is good or bad, that something has to be good or bad, because that's in duality and separation. And then if you ask 10 different people what good and bad is, or what good and evil is, you're going to get to 10 different answers. So then what is right and what is wrong? Well, that's really where we have this underlying thing that we've grown over. We've grown over the underlying understandings with the persuasion of that, there's a right group and a wrong group. And when there's a right group, now here's the funny part, everybody always thinks they're part of the right side, the good side. And they always think that the other side is bad. Like nobody goes into war saying, oh, well, we're the bad side, but we're going to win anyway. It's like, no, we're right. We're always right. That's the whole subjectiveness from the ego. So when we go into that, we're creating fight and separation and exclusion, anger, animosity, violence, and death based on a perception of filtration through the ego of somebody, whoever's in charge, who's ever taken charge or been given charge, or both. So when we have that, then we're always perpetuating separation. Like it's very interesting. And in terms of the whole path of consciousness, I've had this discussion so many times with so many people, but it's like this. As long as we create this battle of the good versus evil, or we believe there has to be a battle, we are perpetuating separation, because battle comes from friction and exclusion and separation, therefore is created by the ego, therefore is perpetuated. So then we say, well, oh no, it's the good, but no. Like I said, ask 10 different people, they're going to give you 10 different answers as to what's good and what's bad, and who's the light and who's the dark. I mean, okay, that's a little more defined maybe, but you're still going to have a lot of deference as to what is, what those definitions are. So therefore, it is definitely not a constant, and it is just basically in the eyes of the beholder. And when we do that, then we get into this whole ego play of, oh, I'm on this side. Oh, there's my God. I'm on this side, and this side is right. And of course, they have to be wrong because they're not on my side, and that's the exclusion part. So then when the question is, when do we come back together? So underneath the surface, we have this friction, and we know that, because then we put so much ego into proving that we're right, proving that we're on the right side, proving that, what we back is the right answer. So here's the challenge. And this interacts with military. We've romanticized military participation, especially in our country, in the United States, where this has been created. And I have worked over the past 10.5 years, as I've been doing this professionally, with so many who are former military that have PTSD of some sort. And actually, I've worked with them in the military with the PTSD. And the PTSD doesn't come from what you would think it does, right? When we get down underneath it and get into consciousness and start talking about where these judgments, like there was somebody I worked with for a while that she was convinced she was the devil. She was, evil and needed to be pounded and punished and all kinds of stuff. and just manifested such crazy, like really punitive and limiting stuff in her reality because she was a fighter pilot. And I would literally have sessions with her on the phone when she was in Afghanistan. One time she had her video flipped by accident. I saw this, like she's sitting outside and there's a tank just rolling by. This is a while back. It was like several years back. But here's the thing. And underneath, like, we convince ourselves that it's okay what we're doing when we go to war, like on the, in the name of whatever group we're backing, whatever country we're backing, whatever political issues we're backing. But when it comes down to, like, and it's really easy to do that when it's on paper, but when it comes down to being there, right? And like I said, this is where I've worked with a lot of people who are in or have been in the military. Underneath, when they go through a special op, particular operation where they actually have to go in and damage an area, hurt other people, there is a realization when they see them face to face that these people think they're right too. And many of them are just completely innocent. And all they want to do is go through and live their lives. And it has nothing to do with the political conflicts. They have nothing to do with what's going on. And so they have orders to go in and wipe out an area. They kill many people who have no interest or involvement in it, right? So they continue doing that. And on one side, you have this glorification and this romanticism around around military. And on the other hand, you have those who are going in and doing that job, and they know that there's something that just doesn't sit well with them. Because it's like, well, how do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? If somebody is worthy of staying alive or not, and if somebody not worthy of staying alive because of political disagreements and ego, because that's really what it works down to. So then you have the people who've been the soldiers out in the front lines. And I mean, there was somebody I worked with for a while who came in and always had this big dark presence over their shoulder because he had been in special ops in the Army and he had quit when he said that, he would go on special assignment and he said he would flip a switch. That was basically what he considered his human switch. He would just shut the switch off to go on assignment, take care of the assignment. So therefore, he did not have to emotionally get connected in any way. He would just do it, take his orders and play them out. And then he would come back from assignment and he would flip that switch back and be normal. Until he realized one day that he didn't think he could flip that switch back anymore. And that's when he quit. So, you have, and I can tell you so many stories around this kind of stuff, because somehow we've convinced ourselves that, like the military is, special because they're doing all these, glorified things that we've put so much around in terms of political, rightness. And again, the right versus wrong. I mean, look at even the Crusades, like in the name of God, right? How many people were killed and slain that really just wanted to live their life in the way they choose versus being told what to do and who to believe and who to worship. And we, and so that's what this is all about. And so we have a huge amount collectively of shame, of anger, of guilt and sorrow and all kinds of judgment around this. And so this is why it's come up to really focus on a great, huge cycle of forgiveness, not only on the forgiveness side, but again, as we always say, the apology, forgiveness, acceptance, embracing, loving, and having gratitude for the whole cycle of completion of that set of lessons. So that can be complete. So we don't have to do it anymore. So we can see it for what it is. See it for the perpetuation and basically the perpetuation of separation and density, because that's what it really ensures when we do it at a collective level. And what the reflection is back to us at a collective level is still perpetuating that separation. And we say we're done with it. We say we want to go on, but yet we still continue to recreate it over and over again, because it's like, oh, well, we're going to get the battle armor on and we're going to do the good versus evil, and however we're going to package it, that's what it's going to look like. Same difference. So and it's the same. I mean, and these are the biggest things. I mean, violence is a huge thing too, collectively, but this is all interact, like interrelated. So today's clearing is I experience and accept all war, military, and violence, past, present, and future, for what they all are and have been in the bigger picture. It is with apology, forgiveness, and love that I have gratitude for the lessons that are now complete in singularity within themselves, all of us and myself. This brings it all together into a realization that, okay, so we want to judge it also, and then when we see it for what it is, but then when we see it for what it is, we see that it really just sort of fed the separation that we wanted to perpetuate. We've gotten to such a level of that. So now it's all that part of resolution with gratitude, say it's all perfect. And the reminder that we are all in this together, and we're just the divine facets of the divine embodied differently to reflect back to ourselves. So with that intention, let's close our eyes, take a deep breath, clear our minds, open our hearts as we step out of separation, back into wholeness, oneness, and hold ourselves in the vibration where this is our truth. This is from where we exist, create, and experience. All right. Oh, wow. I went way out there and suddenly I got this ping like, hey, coming back. It was funny as I was seeing like the theme of the current Wonder Woman movies, and they talk about, there's more than war, there's love, and I was sort of like, well, that's that whole connection thing and that consolidation thing. Oh, I felt really good, like a big breath of fresh air. So sit with that. And the affirmation for this element is, I apologize to, forgive, accept, nurture, and have gratitude for the lessons and consciousness created by war, the military, and violence, past, present, and future, that are now complete. Let's let them be complete. Let them go. Think about that. If we let it go individually and brought it to the collective level, how awesome that is. So thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and we'll see you for the next element. Bye.